Welcome to the new video on Survivor 44, Episode 2. This is the brief discussion about it, mostly because I want to do this and I love this show and I'm glad I can talk about it now that viewer voting is done. So, in this episode, we're going to briefly go over the main plot points from each tribe. This video will mainly be about the Tika tribe towards the end. So, yeah, let's get into it. First, we're talking about the two wins of Raw 2. First, starting with Kane scrambling mostly after he was left outside the vote on last episode, which you saw it coming, and it kind of seems like they're building Kane up as like a hero of the season, which I don't know. He might go next episode. I don't think anyone would care. But the other main storyline Ratu had was big, and that was Matthew saying out loud, "Oh, I practiced this puzzle in my spare time," which is a stupid thing to say on Survivor. Like, no way you're gonna admit to doing pregame practice in front of everyone. He just put the biggest target on his back for the merge, and I think he knows it. But really, that was the only thing happening in Raw 2. And next we'll go to Soka quick, where Matt, not Matthew, Matt, the main storyline happening there is him crashing and failing in his love life. And now connecting with Franny, who I feel like when the time comes, Franny will be the reason Matt goes home. Or Franny goes home because of Matt, and Matt just gets dragged towards the end. Either one's happening. I don't see Matt at this point winning, but then again, it's still just episode 2. There's a long journey, but he isn't playing a smart game. He's too close to Franny right now, and that's just dumb. And then there was the bigger thing that happened at Soko, which was Danny finding the idol clue and then getting the idol, which, just like Soka, was perfect. They've never lost a challenge yet. And he pulled it off perfectly. No one suspects it's even gone right now. Which, good for Danny. Danny's interesting to me because I forgot about him until watching for the second time of this episode. Mostly because he's blatantly a Tony clone. Like, we've seen Joe, War Dog. This is the next Tony clone. It was about time, 4 seasons. So I don't know how well he's gonna do exactly when he just seems like a clone of a player of the past. But I'm interested. This Danny I could see going the distance. He was shown at the end or in the middle of the like sneak peek for next episode. So Danny's in good spots for me. But now we get to the real meat of this video, the Tika tribe, where the first thing we see is Carolyn finding an idol. And once she saw that idol, I went like, she's playing that immediately at the tribal council, the next one she goes to. Caroline has been shown this season to be the most paranoid player and constantly cries and whines and is just way too energetic for everyone. It's like the discount Debbie of the season. Which, the most interesting thing that happened after her getting the idol and trying to put the bag back like Danny did was her tribe realized someone has the idol and starts rapidly imploding. And one of the most confusing scenes to watch, everyone starts pointing fingers on who they think has the idol. Where I wrote it down to make sure I knew the web. So Carson thinks Helen has the idol. Jam Jam thinks Sarah has it. Sarah thinks Jam Jam has it. Helen was just said to think somebody has it. And from what I can tell, somehow no one thought Carolyn had it while they just left. Which is extremely lucky. If this was an older season, she would have been booted immediately, which is interesting. Anyway, after that whole debacle, the challenge happens where Matthew does this thing after winning in first, with Ratu coming in first. Second was Soku, and then Tika obviously lost, which was probably the best scenario we could get for an episode with the storylines they were building. So now you got this combusting tribe kind of all going to tribal. Carolyn has an idol and is always paranoid. And the thing I forgot about from the premiere that was brought up was Sarah has no vote, which right now is really interesting because Carson put himself in the middle of Jan and Carolyn, and then Sarah and Helen, which was really interesting because everyone thinks initially he's just locked in with Helen and Sarah until he goes over to Carolyn and Jan. And before that, when Helen, Sarah, and Carson are talking strategy, they say one line. It's a quote from Helen, which I'll play right now. Think about it. Here it is now.
I are really on the same page. So I think the plan for tonight, if I can trust my gut and the people that I've surrounded myself with, is to vote Carolyn out.
And it's right after it's played, I realized that could be Helen's losing quote. She also says another one at the end of Tribal, which I thought wasn't as good, but that quote made me think, you know what, Helen might go if Carolyn doesn't play her idol. Because I was sure Carolyn was going to play her idol, and either it was going to be flushed or it was just going to be wasted. Well, it was going to be flushed either way, I guess. Think about it. So we go to Tribal, and everyone's talking. I'm just thinking, oh, Carolyn's got to play the idol. Get to the votes. Doesn't play her idol, and I thought that was the end of Carolyn right there. I thought it was done deal. Carolyn's going home, and then Helen goes home, which I saw the losing path. I just didn't think we were on that path. I saw the snippets in the edit, but I didn't think Helen was going home. And Carolyn plays one of the greatest idol holds I've ever seen from a paranoid player, especially. Because we've seen so many people find idols day like 1 or 2 and play them instantly, hate themselves for the rest of the game, but somehow Carolyn didn't do it, even though she constantly groans and complains. And that was amazing. And I think this set up Carolyn for maybe having a good run in the game at least, surprisingly. And this might be the end of Carson, mostly because of him aligning with Carolyn and Junior. Because he's obviously at the bottom of that 3. And it's gonna, even though Carolyn held her idol now, I still think she's way too paranoid of a player to have to deal with later on. And then there's obviously Matthew and Ratu, who did that stupid play of admitting to everyone he did pre-game practice of puzzles, which even Carson said in an interview in the confessional. But this episode was a lot better than I thought it was, especially when I rewatched it for this video. Give it a solid 7 out of 10. Wasn't bad, wasn't great. The boot and Helen's probably gotta be forgot about immediately. And yeah, overall, pretty good season so far. Can't wait to see who loses next. Peace.
I've been preparing for this for a while.